Good morning, Brownsville. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this feed. If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Frank Olivo. Our program focuses on the very important issues that are affecting our local community. We have shed light on injustices and we've allowed for our platform, this mic, to be that of the voice of the people. Now, if this is something you can see yourself supporting, well, we ask that you join the cause. Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Currently, right now, this live program is being streamed on X, formerly known as Twitter, and on Facebook. We could be found under Frankie Olivo. We ask that you also like and follow our personal page on Face. We could be found under Olivo Frankie. But more importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you create a Gmail account. Go to YouTube, like, follow, and subscribe to our channel titled Frankie Olivo TV. It's free. When nature calls. uh, Again, I will never ask my people for money. I will never ask my people for food. All I ask for my people is something very simple. Be part of the cause. Make sure that you subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Currently, right now, ladies and gentlemen, we are 28 subscribers away from the 1,000 mark. Why do we ask people to subscribe to YouTube? Well, as of late, our Facebook page is at risk of being taken down. The powers that be do not want you, the voter, the constituents, the people, to know the truth. But remember, we will not be silenced. So if you're really about the cause and you want to stand up to corruption and you want to hold our elected leaders and those in leadership positions accountable, make sure that you subscribe to all of our social media platforms. Remember, Good Morning Brownsville will come on Monday through Friday religiously. So make sure that you are subscribed to Frankie Olivo TV on YouTube to tune in. We will not be silenced. And always remember, Brownsville, we will forever be grateful to each and every one of you for the time and attention that you provided. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for that. Happy happy Wednesday. I feel as if this week has been flying by. As they say, time flies when you're having fun. I'm very thankful and appreciative of the work that we have. We have to take advantage of these times because there's going to be good times and there's going to be bad times. But nonetheless, I'm forever grateful for the opportunity to provide service to my clients on different capacities. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about, and this might be a short show. I always say it's going to be a short show, and then we go on an hour and 10 minutes. It's funny. Today, I want to talk about the Democratic Primary Forum. This afternoon, there will be a forum that will be held at Perry's Pizzeria next to in the mall area at 6:30, and we have different candidates that are going to be speaking. And again, for those of you that are new here, we've been following closely in regards to the different races, and we'll continue to do so. We are less than 30 days away from the start of early voting. From here till March the 3rd, we will talk about the different races and possibly bring on different candidates to talk about their platform, their visions, their goals for Cameron County. I think it's important for you, the voter, to listen firsthand, to listen from them, the people, those asking for your vote. So that is what we will do from here till March the 3rd. Whenever we talk about debates forum, there are ways where we can measure either the knowledge of different candidates And we can possibly visualize and ask ourselves, is this person worthy of being my next representative for whatever office they are seeking? Now, the race for Cameron County Clerk is between Denise Garza and Sylvia Garza Perez. And this ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a race that many people are monitoring, because there's no doubt that Sylvia Garza Perez is strong. She has won multiple county races, and she's being challenged by Denise Garza, the current BISD board member, who has been successful in 2 of her elections for the school district. One thing that many community members will hold against Denise Garza is that she was the one, well, along with her colleagues on the board, she voted in favor of increasing your property taxes. Now, when we talk about the city of Brownsville, one thing that we always hear is life is tough. Life is changing. For those of us that live close to SpaceX, we could talk about and make the argument for gentrification. How because of SpaceX, property values have skyrocketed. When I talk about my grandfather's property, no improvements have been made at the house for 10, 15 years. My grandparents were paying $700-800 of taxes. Now it's doubled. And if you followed Good Morning Brownsville, we were very vocal against supporting the bond that BISD wanted to pass, where our property taxes were going to possibly double and triple from the current status, the current rate that we find ourselves in. BISD currently right now is in a deficit in the anywhere from $15 to $20 million mark range. And we have spoken previously about how the school district, and I hate to use this analogy, and maybe this isn't the proper word, but they are hemorrhaging students. Superintendent Jesus Chavez himself, when he spoke to the community in his town hall forum in support or providing information in regards to the bond, he did state that the projections for 5 years, currently right now, the school district is around 35,000 of student enrollment. The projection for 5 years is anywhere from 27 to 28,000. That's a big drop. If you remember, BISD was a monster. At one time, had 52 campuses in operation, had close to 50,000 student enrollment. BISD thought that they were going to be the king of the hill forever. And what did we see? That they were just building. Mexicans, as we all know, they pop out kids like crazy. My brother's on 3, he's going on 4. My other brother's on 2. We're like, whoa. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to create life. Now the excuse that we're hearing from Dr. Jesus Chavez is the low birth rates. That is the reason why our voter turnout. We will make the argument that the reason why BISD is suffering, is losing students each and every year, is because of corruption, is because of the characters that we have on that school board. It's all about them. It's all about how they benefit. Denise Garza will be speaking today at the forum at Perry's at 6:30. And one interesting topic that is looming over her head is, why did you support a property tax increase to one of the poorest areas, one of the least educated areas in all of the nation? Now, I understand, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe it's hard for us to to grasp the idea of needing some sort of infusion, whether that be money, whether that be motivation, whether that be something that the school district needs. I was speaking with somebody. I was at the congressional forum this past weekend at South Padre, and I spoke to someone, and they said, "Hey, how's BISD?" I looked at him and I said, "Está por los suelos, brother." And he's like, "What?" I wish I could tell you. I wish I could tell you something different, but I can't. No matter what happens, ladies and gentlemen. And look, we get accused for being negative. Frankie, you're negative. Why do you talk bad about the board members? Why do you talk bad about Dr. Chavez? Do they give us a reason to talk good about them? And our purpose isn't to be that Debbie Downer, to be negative, but we try to be real. At the end of the day, I hope you appreciate that. It's like your spouse. What do you want them to do? You want them to be honest with you, or you want them to lie to you? You know, in relationships, you could probably say, "Look, babe, we can get through this. I just need the truth," right? Whenever an entity such as BISD with a budget of $600 million, the largest budget that the school district has ever had in its history, isn't able to properly manage their assets and is having to resort to asking the community for an increase of their own property taxes, that doesn't sound right. It's like me. I want a Porsche. I want a Rolls Royce Phantom. I want to be paleteando through the streets, but my bank account only says that I could only afford a Pinto, a Ford Taurus 1996. What am I going to do? Hey, people, community, I want a Lamborghini. I could only afford a 1996 Ford Taurus. Pay for my Lamborghini. You people are going to say, "Are you dumb? Something's wrong with you, Frankie." At least that is what I expect the reaction to be from my fellow community. You would say, buy what you could afford. And if you can afford it, I'm sorry for you. Échale ganas. Same thing with BISD. And that is one of the biggest criticisms that the community will hold on Miss Denise Garza. Now, this is an interesting race. These individuals, they do have an opponent in November. Herrera? Is it Rick Herrera? That announced for county clerk in the GOP Republican side. But the race to watch, besides the county judge race, is this race, because there is no doubt that Silvia Garza Perez is a powerhouse. My uncle and I would always joke and say, "Man, esa Silvia está tremenda. Siempre donde la ves, está politiqueando. She's shaking hands, kissing babies." Now, there have been questions in regards to her office that we possibly will touch more in detail later on. But at the end of the day, people are going to be looking at this race. And many critics of Denise Garza will say, "Ma'am, why did you vote in support of increasing my property taxes? I am an insurance broker. I am an insurance agent. I have the benefit and opportunity to work with and provide service to the elderly population and those that are disabled." One thing that I've realized, ladies and gentlemen, is that they live paycheck to paycheck, possibly like many of us. And what we have seen what I have seen has been that these individuals, and the way insurance works, ladies and gentlemen, is that every year they're changing. Sometimes the benefits increase in regards to food benefits, dental, vision, hearing benefits, and some years they decrease, and there are many variables for that. So my job is to present this information to my clients so they themselves could make the best decision in regards to their health care. But my job is always, always, always to maximize their benefits. Why? Because people live on a fixed income. I have clients that receive Social Security check for $297. I have some that receive $900, some that receive $1,200. I think we can all agree that whether if it's $297 or $1,200, that is not making it. Whenever we talk about bills, whenever we talk about food, utilities, we can all agree that life is just getting more and more expensive, right? So that is why people are going to ask this question. And I would encourage you, the community, if you have time, please stop by this afternoon, Wednesday, January 21st at 6:30 at Perry's Pizzeria. It is located right next to Main Event in the mall area, right behind Wells Fargo. And ask Silvia Garza Perez, ask Denise Garza questions that you have. Ultimately, these will be your Democratic representatives for the election in November. We have people that are Team Denise, Team Sylvia. What can you ask Denise Garza? What makes you qualified? What makes you think that you are the best person for this job? And ask her, what were your thoughts behind being in support of raising taxes to one of the poorest areas in the country? And again, going back, whenever I have to tell my clients that, you lost $10, $20, you lost $50 in benefits for X, for food. To you and I, maybe $5, $10, $50, it's, we'll survive. But to these people, having to pay $10, $50 or not receiving those benefits is a lot. Now, just imagine property taxes. We're not talking about an increase of $10, $20, $50. We're talking about in the hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, ladies and gentlemen, that we would have seen had this bond proposal by BISD, in which Ms. Denise Garza was in support of, we would have seen. That is why our program was very vocal and adamant in regards to this very issue. We believe wholeheartedly that this is BISD's mess to fix, not the communities. Why are we going to throw la muleta? ¿Por qué le vamos a tirar la muleta al pueblo cuando la mesa directiva del distrito escolar fue aquellos que arruinaron el distrito? That's plain and simple, ladies and gentlemen. How can we throw the burden? How can we shift the burden from the board, the district, to the community? It doesn't make sense to me. Now, again, if, I don't know, the school board of Ms. Denise Garza was saying, you know what, let's do it in phases. We're not going to ask for $1 billion. That is what, after 30 years with principal and interest, the community would have had to have paid for that proposition A and B. $1 billion. But if the school district said, you know what, we're going to do this in phases, instead of asking for $400 and $500 million, eventually it's going to be $1 billion. We're going to ask for 50 million. We're going to ask for 100 million. There is no question that we do need repairs. We do need, this isn't a question of if or not. It's a given. Okay. What do we blame that at? I'll speak for myself. What do I blame that on? Current and former board members. It's like your house. When do you make repairs to your house? Ya cuando se está goteando, when the roof has a hole? When you have cracks? No. You make improvements. And you know, houses, they say what, every 10 or 15 years, you have to provide, you have to remodel it. You have to provide upkeep and things like that. Same thing with the school district. What has happened? who has been in charge. And it's always the same people. Who do I blame? This current leadership and previous members of the school board. The people that come to mind is, and I'm not singling them out, but they have served multiple tenures. Minerva Peña, I hate to say this. She has served 20 years, and I've never heard, I could be wrong, I've never heard of her say, and again, for her, for the benefit of the doubt, she voted against it. Okay, I'm just using her because she is one of the longest tenured, if not the longest tenured board member servicing us, the community, on that school board. Carlos Lizondo, another person who has been at the helm at BISD multiple years. So we have a very important race for our next representatives for county clerk. And what does the county clerk do? They are individuals who are records keepers. They are the ones that whenever we need to pay our taxes, whenever we talk about birth, death certificates, marriages, they are the ones that issue the license. They are the ones in regards to keeping custodial records of property deeds. They also handle court records, probate cases, probate records, and they serve as the secretary, ultimately, for commissioner's court. Their primary purpose is to serve as record keepers of official documents, court proceedings, of vital statistics. They may file and maintain real and personal property records, including deeds, liens, and they process criminal case information. They collect fines and fees. That is a small gist of what they do. But the community, Zapata, has a very important question to ask. Who am I going to vote for? Am I going to vote for Denise Garza, who was in support of raising your property taxes? It's something to think about. Now, while the county clerk position isn't one of it's more secretarial than governance, than someone like a county judge who can propose increase or decrease, who focuses on the budget. But it's a valid question to ask, I would dare say. So if you have time today, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to go buy Perry's Pizza. If you're leaving after work, don't worry. They'll provide a meal for you. I hope Jared will provide you a pizza or a little pasta or something. It's important. Look, we do our part, ladies and gentlemen. We get criticized for coming on before you, but we do our job. We provide information, but the best source that you can go to is to hear it from the candidate themselves. So I encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to stop by, grab a bite to eat on them. Let them know that you have questions in regards to their candidacy, and you should ask them why we should vote for them. Plain and simple. So today, if you have time, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage each and every one of you to stop by. Ask, hear from these candidates. If you have any questions, any concerns in regards to their candidacy, in regards to the direction that the office of the Cameron County Clerk will have in the next 4 years under these women's leadership, you have the opportunity today to ask. Also, for the purpose of today's topic is the county judge position. Again, today, the Democratic Party of Southern Cameron County will be having their first forum, the Meet the Candidates type of deal. And for the county judge race position, I only see Eddie Trevino on the pamphlet, on the flyer. Now, is this a typo? Did they mistakenly forget the two challengers? I don't think so, because many people say, "Oh, well, it's because Eddie Trevino's the incumbent, and we're only going to put him." Well, what about Sylvia? She's an incumbent. Was the invitation extended to Eric? I better say it in English because they think I say Eric as Eddie. Eric Garza. There you go. Sounds better. Was it an invitation given to Eric Garza and Steve Guerra in regards to this event? I would think that that Jared Hockema or his staff or his team would, provide an open invite to all candidates. But by not seeing these individuals on the flyer, does that mean that these people aren't going to show up? That these people aren't going to present their case as to why they are worthy of your vote? Now, whenever we talk about forums, ladies and gentlemen, debates, why are they good? Well, political debates, ladies and gentlemen, they're very valuable because they give voters a direct opportunity to compare the candidates' ideas, their priorities, their leadership styles side by side. Ultimately, what we as a people want is transparency. These candidates are going to have to explain and possibly defend their positions publicly. Now, often under challenging questions and real-time scrutiny. Imagine you're under the gun, and maybe that's not a good analogy. Look, it's easy for me to be a keyboard warrior, right? To ask these questions, but if I have a candidate in front of me, where are they going to go? How bad would they look if I say, Eddie Trevino, you've been accused of accepting money from the golf cartel. What do you say? Eddie Trevino made a statement, and he said, I wasn't aware who that man was. I returned the money. He made a statement. He provided a response. That's what we want. Now, do we think that this individual would throw away his career for knowingly putting someone of the criminal underworld on his campaign finance report? When we talk about the other individuals, the other politicos out of Hidalgo County, we have the district attorney, Terry Palacios, I apologize. We have the county judge, Cortez. We have Ever Villarreal, the Cameron County Commissioner for Precinct 3 out of Hidalgo. They all three said, I have no idea who that man was. Once we got word of it, we returned that money. Do we honestly think that these individuals, very powerful men, you're talking about a county commissioner in Hidalgo, the district judge in Hidalgo, the district attorney in Hidalgo, Terry Palacios, and Eddie Trevino would openly accept money and put it on their campaign finance report? Again, I'm not saying that Eddie Trevino is the smartest man in the world, but I don't think he's that dumb. Well, that's my opinion. But you have questions in regards to Eddie Trevino? Go and ask him. At the end of the day, Eddie Trevino made a statement. He responded. He's not hiding. And look, am I defending the guy? No, I can care less about him. But that's what we want from our politicians. To answer to the people whatever question they may have. It's important. It's very important for us to get a response from the politicians. Do you want somebody that's going to hide? Do you want somebody that's not going to give you an answer? I would dare say no. Why? Because we believe in transparency wholeheartedly. Now, again, we may not agree with their platform, their visions, their goals, but at the end of the day, I respect people que dan la cara. I respect people that stand up for themselves. At the end of the day, again, we may have differences of opinion in regards to policy and ideology, right? But we want elected officials that are going to answer to the people, and it's very, very important that they do so. Now, again, why isn't Eric Garza and Steve Guerra, why didn't they appear? Why aren't they showing up? Is this possibly a an oversight? Did they, miss calendar? I'm just thinking outside the box. I'm just trying to think here. But why aren't they showing up? Now, we have been critical of individuals, and for record purposes, Steve Guerra is set to speak this today for lunch in an hour and 15 minutes. Steve Guerra will be the keynote speaker for the 13th annual Brownsville or the Brownsville Crime Stoppers Do the Right Thing luncheon, where if you have time, if you want to hear Steve Guerra speak, the Port of Brownsville chairman, you pay $35, you can cheat. Thank you so much, buddy. Why did I say next week? Chingo. Thank you so much, Moody, for catching that. I stand corrected. See, people, I'm human. Steve Guerra is set to speak next week. So he's free today. Yesterday, I think the Port of Brownsville had a, thank you so much, Moody. Yesterday, the Port of Brownsville did have its monthly meeting. Again, I'm not aware of Steve Guerra's itinerary. I don't know his schedule. That would be best suited for his campaign manager. But why isn't Steve appearing? And one thing that people have asked me is, hey, Frankie, you're making allegations and very serious allegations in regards to Steve Guerra, and where does he get his money and things like that. And the reason why we pose these questions, ladies and gentlemen, is because don't you think that those are important details to learn? Whenever we talk about a county judge, ladies and gentlemen, that is the highest position. The highest position in our county. At the end of the day, whoever gets elected, whoever comes out of the primary, whoever beats Mauro Garza, the Republican GOP nominee that signed up, ultimately is going to be the face for Cameron County. They will be in charge of having or administering a budget of $200 million. We're not talking about small potatoes, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, the county, ladies and gentlemen, is going through a lot of changes. If you haven't realized already, right now the county, it's booming. Business is booming, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about SpaceX, we could argue back and forth in regards to your stance on SpaceX. But we're having economic development. Eddie Trevino has stated, and let's see if I can find it. Eddie Trevino has stated that during his tenure, there has been a multi-billion-dollar investment in this area, and that is his platform. He is banking on that. He's saying, look, we are revolutionizing our area. We are no longer a ranchito. Brownsville is no longer, a forgotten area. And I know we could go back and forth in regards to Boca Chica Beach and whatnot, but Eddie Trevino is saying, hey, look at me. I'm investing. Cameron County is investing. Eddie Trevino is saying, hey, $25 billion in private investment is being spent here in Cameron County. When we talk about SpaceX, LNG, We're seeing that the area is transforming into a economic juggernaut, so to speak. We know what Eddie Trevino does. We know what Eddie Trevino has been running on investments. The area is transforming. What do we know about Steve? And again, people say, oh, well, you're picking on Steve. No, these are very important questions to ask, because at the end of the day, these forums are an opportunity for you, the community, to ask these tough questions. You have questions in regards to Boca Chica Beach. Many people are saying Eddie Trevino gave away SpaceX to Elon Musk. That's a lie. That's wrong. Eddie Trevino, Sophie Benavides, David Garza, Joey Lopez, Gustavo Ruiz, Commissioner's Court, they have no authority to give away our land. You know who is? And we've spoken about this previously. You know who is responsible for giving away our beach? The Lucios. Father, son, Senator Rep. David Oliveira, God bless his soul. And now, Adam Hinojosa. Those are the individuals. So if you have a question in regards to Eddie Trevino, go and ask him. He is standing up before the choir and he's saying, I'm here at your disposal. Ask away. If you have any questions, you have questions in regards to him accepting $6,500, he's been upfront about it. Him, along with the district attorney, the county judge, and the commissioner from Hidalgo County have said, we did not know who this guy was. If we would have known, we wouldn't have accepted that money. That's political suicide. Eddie Trevino made a statement. What about Steve Guerra? Now, many people are coming to his defense, and rightfully so, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, whenever a person isn't real with us, whenever a person isn't upfront, what does that lead to? It leads to us asking questions, because at the end of the day, I could only base myself on what the candidate has divulged, one, and what's out there. There have been many questions in regards to Steve Guerra's Rene Oliveira. I'm sorry. I'm saying David Oliveira, the singer Chingao. No, I think his brother. His brother is David Oliveira, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize for that mistake. Rene Oliveira, God bless his soul. Rene Oliveira was a part of the group back in 2012, 2013, 2014, when Cameron County, when Judge Cascos was there, and Pete Sepulveda were there. That was when Judge Cascos was selected to be the Secretary of State by Governor Abbott. So that was Cascos, Sepulveda, Eddie Lucio, father, Senator, Eddie Lucio, Jr. Rep, and Rene Oliveira. God bless his soul. And today, Adam Hinojosa. They are the ones that gave away Boca Chica Beach to Elon Musk. Another important thing that we want to talk about is, what's their profession? What do they do? And look, why have I been so critical of Steve? Because we don't know. Because on his campaign finance report, he claims that he is a entrepreneur. Steve is at La Porta doing a speech today. Okay, well, Steve is campaigning. He's at Porter. Will he be there today? And the reason why I ask is, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm running for an office, and look, this probably is the most important interview that Eddie Trevino, that Steve Guerra, and Eric Garza will have. Why? Because this ultimately will, in some sort of way, either help them or hurt them in their quest to be your next representative for county judge. They will be our next face. Well, whoever wins the primary, and then if whoever wins between themselves and Mauro, whoever wins in November 2026, they will be the next representative and the face of Cameron County. But these individuals, Eddie Trevino, Steve Guerra, Eric Garza, this is the biggest interview that they have of their lifetime. Well, with the exception of Eddie Trevino, because, well, he's the incumbent. This is not his first rodeo, so to speak. And maybe we could say the same about Eddie Garza, right? Eddie Garza has won multiple county races, 2 when he won district clerk, 1 when he won the sheriff's office not too long ago. But the one who is not battle tested is none other than Steve Guerra. Steve Guerra, if we look at the candidates by the numbers, Steve Guerra brought in 2,700 votes for the Brownsville Navigation District, also known as the Port of Brownsville. Now, in those races, whenever we talk about the port and whenever we talk about the TSC College, those are good numbers because you don't have a lot of voters. Those elections are usually in May. Who comes out to vote in May? It's difficult to get people. It's difficult to get people to come out and vote in general. Imagine getting people to come out in May. They're like, "Ya voté. I don't need to vote again." You know what I'm saying? But why are we picking on Steve? Why are we singling out Steve? Because he has more question marks. We know what Eddie Trevino does. He's a practicing attorney. He's a county judge. Eric Garza, I believe he's still deputized. Correct me if I'm wrong, team. He's still deputized, and he serves as either security at a school, a traffic warden. He has a realtor license, that he could plug in and possibly make some sort of money there. But Steve, ladies and gentlemen, if you ask Steve Guerra and his people, those around him, and it's funny because those close to Steve that I've spoken to, they can't even tell me what he does. The Breakfast Club, they have no clue what he does. Everybody says, I got to go to work. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. I got to go back. I got to go back. When Steve says, I got to go back to the office, they look at each other and they say, what office? Now, in his campaign finance report, Steve Guerra puts that he's an entrepreneur. That his occupation is, business, self-employer. But nobody really knows the details of that. And whenever a candidate does not give us information, unfortunately, it leads someone such as myself, such as the blogs, such as a random voter to ask and question, well, what does Steve do? Now, look, Steve Guerra and the Guerra name are a prominent family in Matamoros. I'm not here to bash them. I'm not here to throw shade their way. My respects to them and their businesses. It is known that the Guerras run Casino Internacional, who, hey, I have gone personally myself multiple times. It is alleged that not anybody, ladies and gentlemen, not anybody could open up a casino in Matamoros unless you are plugged in, for lack of a better term. You have to have some sort of relationship. You have to have some sort of acceptance, some sort of agreement with the underworld. And that's just me being honest. Not anyone gets a license to operate a casino. Also, it is very well known that La Hielera is a cockfighting operation in which millions of dollars were wagered. And according to insiders, people came to Steve's defense and say, oh, well, you're saying that, who are your sources? And gentlemen, the sources are people from the underworld. How would I know these things? I don't frequent, Matamoros. I don't know the hustling and bustling over there. I really don't. So how do I know these things? Because the criminal underworld themselves are the ones that provide me the information. And they themselves have said, Frankie, people have been killed. People have been robbed because of them winning Los Galleros. They win and people are mad. And instead of giving thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, of losing that amount of money, they just eliminate them. Now, am I accusing Steve of this? In no way, shape, or form. I'm not accusing Steve of this. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, what I want Steve to do is to be upfront, to be honest with the people. Look, we can't choose who our family is. We really can't. And, Steve, loves his family, respects his family. How can a candidate seek office and want to run a multi-million-dollar entity such as Cameron County when they have no past work experience in the private sector? We have commissioners that their own family kicks them out of running the family business because of bad management, such as Pedrito Cárdenas. Pedrito Cárdenas was running Mi Pueblito at one time. And what happened? He wasn't paying the liquor license. He wasn't paying the taxes in the thousands of dollars. What happened? His sister came in. His brother-in-law came in. So you, the voters, have a very important job of attending these forums and asking the tough questions. You want to know what Eddie Trevino is all about? Ask him. But my question is, why isn't Steve and Eric showing up? Isn't that a valid question? Now, again, do they have a family emergency? Do they have prior engagements? Do they have, maybe they don't feel comfortable. Maybe they feel Eddie Trevino has the upper edge with Jared Hockema and the party. They say, you know what? Screw that. It's rigged. I'm not going to do it. Maybe. But again, these individuals, Steve Guerra and Eric Garza, ultimately, they want to run a multi-million-dollar entity such as Cameron County. But these forums serve as a way for us, the community, to ask the tough questions and say, Mr. or Judge, Attorney, Eddie Trevino, what's your work experience like in the private sector? Steve Guerra, what's your experience in the private sector? Eric Garza, what's your experience in the private sector? Isn't this a fair question to ask? Again, I'm not asking for anything for personal details. I'm not asking for, family details. No, I'm asking for the basic stuff. At least I think I am. I don't know. Buenos días, Lolita. Thank you so much for your time. Galvan, shouts out to Combs. And again, we have seen how Pedrito Cárdenas, the city of Brownsville commissioner, that his own family kicked him out of running Mi Pueblito, the family business, because he wasn't running it right because of bad management. And Pedrito Cárdenas is in charge of a budget of $100+ million in the city of Brownsville. Really? There were critics of Pedrito Cárdenas that said, si el vato no pudo con lo poquito, un restaurante, ¿cómo puede manejar una ciudad? If he couldn't manage a restaurant, how could he manage a city? How could he manage Precinct 4? Look, Steve Guerra, we all know who he is. We all know who he comes from. And look, we are born into family. Unfortunately, we have no choice. What I would have liked Steve Guerra to say is, you know what? I love my family. I respect my family. But I, Steve Guerra, am my own person. I am not involved in any illicit activity, any businesses across the river. I am an entrepreneur. I am self-made. I have my own business. It's an XYZ business. But whenever Steve Guerra doesn't answer these, it leads rumors to circulate Does Steve Guerra's money, income, come from casinos? Does it come from La Hielera, the cockfighting operations where hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars were at one time, possibly still are wagered? Now, again, I'm not singling Steve out. I'm just asking basic questions. And these forums that the party, the Democratic Party, sets up, they're designed for this, to answer questions from the people, from the community. If you have any doubt, ladies and gentlemen, ask the questions. You know who the only one showing up is? Eddie Trevino. Is that telling? Now, again, we have made allegations in regards to Huachicol, where many people have stated that the three-letter agencies are actively investigating. Steve Guerra are actively investigating. Steve Putinit are actively investigating. Steve Putinit out of the port of Harlingen with Titan Fuel are actively investigating Steve Guerra for Robco Fuels, are actively investigating Ernie Gutierrez with his relations with his uncle from Reynosa, the multimillionaire. Why doesn't Steve Guerra answer these simple questions? If I was being accused, ladies and gentlemen, of something, I would come out and say, ladies and gentlemen, I know there are rumors circulating out there in the web. I want to assure my people that I have nothing to do with that. I categorically deny those allegations, accusations made on my person. But we haven't heard that. And what does this lead to? It leads for someone like me to keep asking these questions, and I'm not going to go away, because ultimately, this is what the people need to know. Eddie Trevino, what's your source of income? Steve Guerra, what's your source of income? Eric Garza, what's your source of income? What are your plans, your goals? You want to run a multi-million-dollar entity such as Cameron County, Eddie Trevino? You want to run a multi-million-dollar entity such as Cameron County, Steve Guerra? You want to run a multi-million-dollar entity such as Cameron County, Eric Garza? What's your work experience, Eddie Trevino? What's your work experience, Steve Guerra? What's your work experience, Eric Garza? Am I out of line for asking that question? I will dare say no. Why? Because ultimately, and look, Steve Guerra's people are saying, oh, well, you're wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest interview that Steve Guerra has ever had in his life. This is ultimately going to make Steve, or this is ultimately going to break Steve. Simple as that. I like Steve. Somebody called me and they said, hey, bro, I thought you were supporting Steve. I was like, bro, I chase stories. My job is to provide you, the people, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I have no friends in this world. Ultimately, the only friendship, the only acceptance that I want is from you, the people. Because sooner or later, Frankie Olivo is going to ask for your vote, possibly for the city, possibly for the school district, possibly for the county, and possibly even beyond. And what do I expect? To be scrutinized, to be put under a microscope. Frankie, why did you send that dick pic? Frankie, why were you arrested? Frankie, what are your goals? Frankie, why are you Matthew White? It's been a while, man. I owe you, bro. I owe you lunch, bro. Text me soon, brother. Text me soon. Te debo. Where was I going? I expect to be scrutinized, ladies and gentlemen. And to me, it's unthinkable for someone such as Steve Guerra not to have this thought out of. It doesn't no cuadra conmigo. You want to run for being the face of Cameron County, but you can't ask these simple questions? You can answer these simple questions? As they say, silence speaks volumes. We're not accusing Steve Guerra of anything. What I'm simply reporting is this is what I have to base myself on. Why? Because I have nothing else. And whenever Steve Guerra, Lolita, you shouldn't have, Lolita. Jeez, Lolita. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for the love and support, Lolita. I really appreciate it. Te mando un beso y un abrazo muy fuerte. Gracias por el apoyo y el cariño que nos das. Tú siempre nos sigues dando. Gracias por todo lo que haces por mí, por mi familia, que hiciste por mi tío, por la amistad que tenías con él, for the relationship, the friendship that you had, and how nice you were to my uncle. I'm very appreciative. You shouldn't have given me this, but I will take it with so much pride. Thank you so much for that, Lolita. Ladies and gentlemen, forums, public forums, why are they important? Well, they're important because we as a community are able to, it gives us an opportunity to compare candidates' ideas, priorities, leadership styles side by side. I want to see Eddie Trevino. I want to see Steve Guerra duke it out. Así nomás. Why? Because Steve Guerra, Eric Garza want to dethrone Eddie Trevino. And it's like a boxing match. And whenever a boxer, let's say a champion, is being challenged, do they give the victory to the challenger just because he's pretty? Just because of his last name? Just because he's cute? No. They give the challenger the victory whenever he shows that he's better. Que tira mejores fregazos. That he dominates and says, look, I'm your candidate. Who is related to Juan Nepomuceno? I believe that is Steve Guerra. Steve Guerra is the grandson of Mr. Guerra, que paz descanse. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. But that is what these forums, ladies and gentlemen, are ultimately for. I want to see Steve Guerra talk crap about Eddie Trevino. I want Eddie Trevino to talk crap. Oh, that's a bad word. I shouldn't say that. I want Steve Guerra to talk to us and tell us why he is better than Eddie Trevino. I want Eddie Trevino to tell us why he's better than Steve Guerra. Ultimately, what this does for us, the voters, is it encourages transparency by the clients because they explain and defend their positions publicly. Debates such as the one that's going to be held today, they promote accountability as inconsistencies or weakness in arguments can be exposed and addressed. For the public, ultimately, they foster political engagement and informed decision-making, helping citizens move beyond slogans to better understand how candidates think, respond under pressure, and ultimately, how they plan to govern. If I was Steve Guerra, I would show up to this event. Maybe he is. Maybe there was just a typo. Maybe his face and Eric Garza's face weren't put on for whatever reason. Maybe they are going to show up. I hope they do. Because that is the only way the community will see them being transparent, of not hiding, of not running to the corner. They're showing face. And that is what we want. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Frank Olivo TV. Best believe we'll come on Monday through Friday religiously. We'll continue to talk about what's most important in our community and our everyday lives. My name is Frank Olivo, and this is Good Morning Brownsville. Peace.